Well, we might be saying goodbye to it for the near future, but we have one last farewell. Hello, everyone who's tuning in around the world. Welcome to round 4 of the Invictus Racing League here from Hockenheim in Germany, which is a country that shares borders with 9 others. That is, if you can see across the border, a third of it still covered in trees and forest. You might have to peer through the bushes, but here in Hockenheim, it's 2.84 miles, which make up one of the next 34 laps that will be going across 2 DRS zones, which could see speeds of up to 216 miles an hour, which we could most likely see down the 1,240 meter back straight. But between those straights, 17 turns, 11 to the right, 6 to the left, and it's 310 meters from pole position down to turn 1. And a turn 1 where if you swing to the left and swing to the right before the first of the 2 DRS zones, you can get a move done through there. But more often than not, you might end up taking yourself and the car you're trying to overtake out of the race. But a place that is known for its overtaking, the turn 6 hairpin at the end of that back straight, for those that want to lunge down the inside or possibly get that traction around the outside of the corner. And turn 13 as well, with a slightly banked left-hander as you head into the stadium section. For those that are brave, you could send one down the inside and try to force your onto the wider line. It is the C4, the C3, and the C2 compound of tire this weekend. We don't expect to see much of the sauce, but you never know what we could find here in round 4. The medium's about 0.6 of a second slower. The hard's about a second slower than the sauce. That is if we get to use them, because as we see here already, weather is a factor. Well, Kendo, we see it's already raining here in qualifying. I think we could already be in for a great one.
100%. Like you said, considering I don't think a lot of drivers would have been getting themselves set up for this. However, we know the European circuits are very very prone to get the mixture of weather, as we well know, in the European zone. And as we talk about this section of the race, we are currently in round number 4. And currently at the moment, DJ Danny is leading the field with 42 points. HK is closely followed, well, wouldn't say closely, we're on 23.5 points behind, with Scartrix in the Haas currently tied on 23 points alongside James F1. So it's very close for second position, but as it currently stands, DJ Danny is rocking away with it at the moment. So let's see if anyone can catch up the rest of the race. What do you think's going to happen? Do you think that HK is going to try and pull it back, or do you think Danny's going to try and just keep us cool as he's been doing all season?
Well, the Renault driver has yet to find himself finishing off the podium this season. He's won 2 out of 3 races and finished second in the one that he didn't win at Spa, where he picked up that penalty that actually took the win away from him. As you said, HK really reinstating himself into the conversation, jumping into that second place, picking up his first podium last week after crashing at Spa. Another podium for Scartrix sees him jump James F1, DXT Miles, and Sir Sharks. But Kendo, it looks like we already have James F1 crossing the line. Take us a lap around Hockenheim.
Yeah, get himself on board. So as you can see at the moment, usually they'd be preparing themselves for the DRS detection zone coming through. However, the sweeping right-hander, you've got to set yourself up just right to be able to get this lovely drive up this sweeping left-hander. And at the moment, it looks quite a clean one so far. Let's see how he gets his braking zone here. Nice and tight. However, he can get a little bit tighter on that braking zone. As he comes around, because bear in mind, in the wet, you do need to be careful on them curves in case you spin yourself out. You can see he's just losing a slight bit of traction. going a little bit sideways. However, he saves the car. This is the tricky part of the sector 3, especially when it comes into the rain. However, can be an exciting time for a few overtakes, especially if you get that first initial braking point wrong. At the moment, he's coming around the last turn. Turns in slightly early. And as he gets ready to cross the line, he sets the first time of a 1:23.345. So that is the benchmark for everyone else. I'm sure at the moment, this is at very early days, and that can quite quickly get broken.
We're on board now with DJ Danny, who sets even a faster time, about 0.8 of a second faster than the Racing Point. And speaking of these two, the Constructors' Championship is a completely different story to the Drivers' Renault. Only a 4-point lead over Racing Point, who themselves are only 5 points ahead of Alfa Romeo. So in terms of the team downs, the Red Bulls go second and third right off the bat. But as things stand now, the Constructors are, Kendo, all to play for.
It most certainly is, because as you talk about the Constructors, currently as it stands, the Renault team are currently on 46 points. That is DJ Danny and Rymac. Closely followed behind on 42 points is Sir Sharks and James F1 on 42. And in third place is the Alfa Romeo team of EX Miles and CJ Murphy. So as you are seeing, a lot to play for, as it currently is round 4 of the 11, so still a lot to play for.
Well, McLaren scoring their first point last week, but actually still find themselves at the bottom due to a penalty at Spa. They saw themselves on -2 points, now on -1, courtesy of a 10th place finish last week in Spain. But the only team yet to score so far, Mercedes, in their home race. Could they potentially find their way around this little bit damp track that we have here at Hockenheim? And actually, we have word that heading into the race, there's going to be light sprinkles as well. It will dry up in the future. But heading into the start of this race, we could still see the intermediate tire on most of these cars.
It most certainly is, and the fact, as you say, the sprinkles start off early on, as we know with the weather can come and dry out early in the race. It can go later on into the race. At the moment, the drivers will have to assume that the weather forecast, as you say, is going to be correct. However, as we well know, it can catch drivers out. It's a case of, do they trust their mechanics in the pits to tell them when the right time to come into the pit, or do they just go off their own instinct out on track? So it's a fine balance between the team communication and their own driver instinct.
You can see the rain might actually start to come down a little bit heavier here. You can see the Ferrari of Leclerc headed through that turn 6 hairpin, just losing the back end slightly. We've seen that happen actually a few times now already. Early on in this session, we haven't even come close to the 10-minute mark. And we've seen a couple of these V6 turbo hybrids just simply fishtail that rear end onto that curb on the exit. This lap from Leclerc seems to be pretty tidy. It could easily see him go into the top 10 as he runs ever so slightly wide there. Does well to not invalidate the lap, but down into second gear as he exits that banked turn 13 in through the windy sector 3 as he comes back across the line. Scartrix now actually coming back into the session after leaving early on. Keeps it on the track. Leclerc coming across the line. Only sees him good enough for 12th, but a 1:22.4 is the benchmark to beat at the moment. James F1 actually taking that second spot as things stand. He's actually done quite a few laps on this set of intermediate tires, so he's really just looking to, Kendo, I think, just rubber in this track and try to form a dry line for maybe when he goes out on track later to set an even faster lap.
Exactly right, and considering that the fact that, as you say, it looked like it could potentially get wetter, so that dry line depends on how the weather forecast does come around, can die away, or if it settles down towards the end of the qualifying, as you rightly say, the drier the track, the drier the racing line, faster them times will come down. So at the moment, you will tend to see a lot of people trying to get their eye on the track, get used to the braking point, and then go out on a fresh set of rubber, getting ready to set them fastest laps, hopefully on a drier track, as you rightly say. As we just see DJ Danny just cross the line, getting ready to prepare to get on his outlap. So it could be interesting to see what he does.
We're watching the Red Bull of HK right now. He actually went fastest in the first sector. He's about to cross the timing mark that splits the middle and the final sectors, but HK and Red Bull really need to start finding their form as he sets another fastest sector for Sector 2. This could be an absolutely storming lap from the Red Bull. It's 3/10 off of the pole time DJ Danny as things stand. And he comes across the line with another right-hander to go. What will his time be here? Nearly 8.5 minutes to go in this session. It does see him go into pole. We've hit the 121s. It's a 121.9 from the Red Bull of HK. And that will certainly put DJ Danny on to a little bit of a high alert as we head into this race. DXT Miles about to come across the line. That's what you just see skating across that penultimate corner and electing to just peel into the pit lane. HK's teammate actually has a little bit of traffic that he's going to have to sort out in front of him. I wonder if he actually is on a push lap. He has his ERS turned all the way down. Might actually let a few cars through. Who else do we have out on track? Mecca in
I was just about to say, Danny has just started a hot lap as well. I'll keep you informed how he does as well.
We'll go ahead and hop on board with DJ Danny. It looks like most people are either on cooldown laps in the pits or still on their out laps. We will ride on board with the Renault, who finds himself about 5/10 adrift of the pole time of something he held there for a second. You see the Racing Point just doing his best to get out of the way, hoping that Renault didn't quite run as wide as some tend to do out of turn 6, down into third gear. Head into the Mercedes grandstand section.
Yeah, like you were saying, he doesn't look like he's getting very good traction out of them turns. So it seems like he's, as you've spotted, it looks like he's struggling a little bit out there, Danny, in the wet at the moment.
And is it just me, or is the rain coming down a little bit harder as well?
Yeah, like I say, that you can totally tell by the fact that his car nearly slid there going around the start of that final right-hander, so you can definitely tell that looks potentially like drivers might want to look to change tyres and have a hopper trying to go onto the full wets. But we'll soon find out.
Just as we say that, he did set a fastest final sector, going about 2/10 faster than his previous time, so it could be interesting to see as we have about 6 minutes and 15 seconds left to go here in this qualifying session. Looks like the usual suspects have climbed into the top 5. Both Williams, 6th and 7th, that would be a great start for them. We do expect Scartrix to jump up into there at some point. Murphy, who is not taking part in this qualifying session, will join us and start from the back of the grid, wherever that may be. Barring anything unforeseen, but James F1 actually setting a fastest middle sector. Could this be a good lap from the Racing Point as he peels into this banked turn 13, one that's always tricky, especially in the wet, because it does have that bank to it. DXT Miles into third place. You can see James F1 just holding that 4th position, but will he be able to improve his time? Comes across the line, goes about 3/10 faster, so actually just the opposite what we were discussing. It seems like the rain has held steady, but the dry line, Kendo, starting to form here with about 5 minutes to go.
It most certainly is. And as you've just been saying about a driver, Scartrix has just set his first flying lap. Not quite as fast as I would have expected with him being up at the front of the pack in the standings on a low 23.5, so potentially he's got quite a bit of work to do.
Well, we could see quite an interesting strategy, especially as we head into the race. You don't have to, because it is going to rain, or so we think, as we head into the beginning of the race, the two compound rule is completely out the window. People could potentially run hards all the way to the end should the rain hold out possibly 10 laps. We can possibly see 24 laps or so on the hard tires. But will that be the #1 strategy? See the Toro Rosso here just struggling for front end grip in that Honda powered Toro Rosso 29 in the Mercedes coming down this back straight. I can't tell if the rain is holding steady, if it's getting heavier, but it looks like it's getting ever so slightly heavier, but the dry line is actually starting to benefit some of the drivers here.
Yeah, you can clearly tell the dry line is starting to form quite a bit, because I'm looking on board with the driver's actual personal views, and you can quite clearly see there is a dry line forming. It gets a little bit damp going into the last turn, but everywhere else it seems to be very dry.
The turns you see just there, which is turn 12, which are accompanied to being extremely fast, extremely quick. Drivers having to be extremely cautious in these conditions as HK rounds the penultimate corner, trying to set an even faster lap that is 1:21.9. Can he do so? He sets it even 3/10 faster, so even that much more for DJ Danny to do with about 2 minutes 45 seconds to go. Kendo, when do you think the latest the likes of DJ Danny and James F1 can come out onto the track and try to make up nearly 8/10 of a second on the Red Bull?
Well, just as you just said that, DJ Danny is right now making his way out of the pits. That was very good timing by yourself. But bear in mind, he does have traffic around him, so he does have to be careful. So because of that, he's going to be a lot slower to get himself around. He should just get out in time. However, I don't think James F1 is going to give himself a lot of time to get out. It's going to be very risky for him to get out if he sets out right now. So potentially, that's his qualifying done. But for DJ Danny, he's definitely about to get ready to start.
Well, the Racing Point trying to do everything he can to get himself the driest of lines possible, but Rimac down in 17th place. We probably expected a little bit more from DJ Danny's counterpart, but as the Renault driver comes into the final sector, what sort of time can he do? Can he break into the top 10? Scartrix has actually jumped into 4th place, a 1:22.3, so another driver who's not far off of HK's time. A minute and 15 seconds to go. James F1 now on his outlap. Rimac promoting himself into 11th. Where can Sir Sharks find himself? Surely no one else will be able to get across the line now to start possibly another lap after this. So this could be potentially their final push laps with a whole heaping load of ERS behind them.
Most that is.
Ricardo into that Ferrari, actually going 8th fastest, so a great qualifying from him. Where can Sir Sharks find himself? It's a 1:23.0, which is 2/10 slower, and he can actually now fall out of the top 10. DXT Miles has come across the line with about 30 seconds to go to take 2nd place. As things stand, HK on provisional pole. Only 2 drivers into the 121s, but DJ Danny into that Mercedes grandstand section. You can see a whole host of traffic behind him as well. setting a fastest middle sector. Can he keep up his good run of form? It's been 3 podiums and 2 wins for the Renault driver. Can he get a pole position here? Fairmoto crossing the line 14th. Mecca in the McLaren rather 15th. And Matt's in the Mercedes, his home race, in 19th position. But where will DJ Denny come across the line? He only goes second fastest unless DXT Miles or James F1 have something to say about that. DXT Miles setting the fastest middle sector, even faster than DJ Denny. DXT Lee actually retiring in the pit lane. He will start provisionally in 7th place. DXT Miles, a 1:21.9 is his time as he rounds the penultimate corner. Where will the Alfa Romeo, and who won its spot, can he take pole here in Germany? He only goes up to second, which means DJ Denny will start on the 2nd row. He could even go down a bit farther. James F1, one of the final drivers to come across the line. Where will the racing point end up? Across the line into 4th gear, into 5th gear. Can James F1 improve on his time? He goes a 10th faster, but it only is good enough for 4th place. Still 0.2 of a second adrift of DJ Danny. Not to mention our pole sitter here today, DXT HK, taking pole here in Germany. What a way to do it, Kendo. In pace in the rain, especially with the wet early on. Could we see that pace translated into potentially a win?
100%. I've raced it with the likes of HK. I know HK is really good in the wet in a race pace setup. So I have actually seen his pace in other races that he does. So he's very strong in the wet. Miles, I haven't quite seen his pace in the wet, nor DJ Danny. So it should be an interesting one in that sense. But if we quickly have a look at the standings, you have HK on pole, DJ Miles in 2nd, Danny in 3rd, James in 4th, Scartrix in 5th, Liverpool Union in 6th, and then Lee in P7. So it's going to be very, very close at the front of that grid. So let's hope that there's not a big coming together in turn 1, because as we know in the drive, that is a very fast right-hand turn. So it's going to be a case of our driver's going to do that same racing strategy, blasting off at the start, or are they going to be cautious?
Well, you can see here as well the rest of the grid looks like. So Liam Hardman joins Lee on that 4th row rather. Ricardo and Maniac round out the top 10. HRC stepping into that McLaren is joined by Sir Sharks, who had a relatively poor qualifying for himself, but Sharks only missing out on the top 10 by a few hundredths of a second. Rimac, who also with a somewhat disappointing qualifying for the Renault driver, starts 13th. He has Fairmoto in the Williams for company. Mecca, who helped scores McLaren's first point of the season last week, starts 15th alongside Leclerc, who just couldn't quite get his wet tires to fire up in that Williams. He starts 16th, and Mercedes in their home race, they will start 17th and 19th and split only by the Ferrari of Leclerc, who starts 18th. You can see Murphy as well joining late to the session, starting 20th for Alfa Romeo. I think it'll be interesting to see, Kendo, what kind of tires.
Yeah, I was just about to say, tires. You have a couple of people out on the medium and soft tires. You have HK decide to go out on their mediums, as you were just saying about tires. Yeah, that's going to be a very interesting start with people having the mixture of intermediate and the medium tire. That is a genuine surprise to me. People are going out on the dry tyre. However, they must be getting told in their ear that the track is drying up. So let's see how they respond on the grid.
So it's only sprinkling ever so slightly. If you look further down the grid, both Mercedes starting on the soft tire. They're going to try to make up as many places as they can and try to make the intermediate tires just bog down. They don't have the same amount of tread depth. The intermediate tires, it's only sprinkly. You can only see 1 or 2 drops every now and then. So could those starting on the slicks actually have a bit of an advantage here?
Well, it can. Like I say, them soft tyres are going to play a huge factor going into that turn, but it all depends on, has the track dried well enough for them to actually use them tyres? That's going to be the deciding factor going into this first turn. So it all depends on how they get the traction off this start, and we'll be able to tell if the dry tyres are going to be the better tyre or if the inters are going to be, as we get ready for those 5 red lights.
Everybody's lined up on the grid. HK did a great job of making sure the pack was still bunched up for 5 red lights. It is lights out and away we go. Who will make it down to turn 1 as HK gets a horrendous start off the line. He's already fallen down to 4th place. It's Miles that leads the way through turn 1. Danny making up places as well. HK falling deeper and deeper down the field. Liam Hardman up into 6th place. Scartrix now swapping places with the Toro Rosso, but Miles has jumped already a 4/10 of a second lead. Liverpool Ewan up into 4th place as well for Toro Rosso. The slick tires don't seem to be paying off here very early. The Renault of Rimac now in 11th. You see a whole bunch of cars going nearly 4 wide as they head into the hairpin as they bang on wheels with each other. Who will come out of that one in one piece? You can see a little bit of wing damage taking place. Ricardo has lost plenty of places as well, down into 12th on the medium tires. Lee as well on the mediums, not getting the traction he wants. Both Toro Rossos up into 4th and 5th position. Scartrix now. The intermediate tires are paying off for those that elected to use them. The slicks have proved wretched as you see Rimac heading off the track there. The intermediate tires, well, not quite holding as much grip as he would have hoped. He gets relegated all the way to the bottom of the field with DJ Danny now getting past Miles. You wonder if Miles had a little bit of an incident coming around the 3rd sector there, but DJ Danny leads them across the line. DXT Miles has already lost about a second. You see them skating through turn 1 there. It's DJ Danny from DXT Miles, Liverpool Ewan in the Toro Rosso in a great position. Scartrix has already made his way up into the top 5. He's swapping positions with the Toro Rosso behind him as they race down this back straight. He's gaining and gaining and gaining. Scartrix now is ahead as they bang wheels. They do extremely well to keep it both on the track, but who will have the inside line heading into the hairpin? Scartrix runs ever so slightly wide and invites Maniac to come back at him. More wheel banging. Scartrix up into 4th place. HK still losing time to those in front as the rain continues to fall here in Germany. We don't think it's going to get any heavier, but he's actually now starting to gain time on Maniac, courtesy as do we have a Mercedes off? Yes, we do. It is Mats who's on the soft tires. Those are going to be screaming now as Rimac has been relegated all the way to the back of the field. As we see Mats off yet again into the gravel. The virtual safety car has actually been deployed for that. So could we see now, Kendo, a few of these drivers that started on the slick tires actually head in for intermediates, or do we see intermediates head in for slicks?
Wait, for certain parts of the track, it seems as though the track has started to dry in certain sections. However, at the beginning of lap, the first turn and that, as we see at the moment, you can start to see it's still a little bit wet. So at the moment, I do think eventually the weather is going to start changing, and perhaps HK, as you were referring to. He may have felt as though he needs to take the paint early on in the race for the long-term gain of not having to pit from Intis to drive tires.
Well, you can see there the Mercedes of Jamie 29 just getting overtaken by nearly 3 cars as they make contact heading into the Mercedes grandstand. Jamie 29 not having the greatest of times in that Mercedes here so far. Mercedes home race here has already lost quite a bit of his front wing, but DJ Danny has actually been relegated into 3rd place as Danny had an incident. He's still on the track as we see now plenty of cars starting to peel into the pit lane. How many will come in, and could this play into the hands of DXTHK, who now takes the lead of this race? What kind of tires will go on? It looks like mediums for most. It's the softs that go on for Scartrix. It'll be interesting to see where everyone comes out of the pit lane. McLaren of HRC actually now into 5th place. There's plenty of green flag pit stops taking place here. You can see the McLaren starting to gain more and more on Sir Sharks. He's going to have a look down the outside and switch back. This could be a great move from the McLaren as he holds the inside line. The racing point of Sir Sharks able to hold his position in 4th place. It was a great tactical move from the McLaren. It didn't quite come off in the end. Right. Let's go through some of the pit stops. Liverpool units that hold on 1 second. HRC might try to have a little bit of another look at the racing point as his Fairmoto is actually now getting drawn into this battle, and they go wheel to wheel through turn 12. McLaren, they're still wheel to wheel actually. Can they head through turn 13? So Sharks with that inside line just showing McLaren out of the way, and that is actually promoted Fairmoto as well into 5th place. DXTHK, you can see the slick tires now starting to come into effect, setting the fastest lap, and those that didn't pit with all the others now peeling into the pit lane. But now, as things stand, Red Bull 1 and 2. So that gamble, Kendo, paying off already.
Exactly that, and that's exactly what I was referring to at the start of the race. It all depends on that. Some drivers gamble and think that the rain's going to end early, which it looks like it has. However, some drivers set up the car ready for the rest of the race being wet. Now, it's going to be an interesting thing to see. Has HK set up for a dry race, or has he set up for his car in the wet? And that includes, and that's also referring to the rest of the grid. Are they on a wet setup, or are they on a dry?
Well, it'll be interesting to see. We have now a whole host of different strategies going down the grid. We have plenty on the medium tires. We have a few on the softs as well, and even fewer on the hard. Scartrix and Maniac, both the only drivers on the hard tires, as the players getting overtaken, running wide. Those bits of track out on the curves, still surely a bit wet from the rain. Those soft tire runners really starting to feel the effect of that extra grip. And just as I say that, Liverpool Ewan on the soft tires, setting the fastest lap of this race as he looks to close down the Ferrari of Ricciardo in 3rd position. We've seen him in this position before. He crashed out at Spa under the safety car. He looked to put that one behind him. We do see Scartrix now on the hard tires. His in 7th place has to 7th and 8th as things stand. Do you think they might try to switch this one around because Liam Hardman is on the softer tire?
Wait, at the moment, Scartrix is currently trying to battle out at the front, so it all depends on if the two drivers are communicating with each other. If it was myself personally, I would be trying to release Liam and potentially use his DRS and saving your own ERS later on in the race. However, it all depends on how he feels his pace is compared to Liam.
This whole group here from about 11th place to 14th has really been battling it out, trying to work their way into that 10th position. You can see Mecca's ghost car there is Liverpool Ewan. Goes about 2 seconds faster than his previous fastest lap, so the soft tires are definitely the ones here. We might have a car off. It looks like it's the McLaren of HRC who's gone off into the grass. You can see there it went wheel to wheel. Is that wing damage? It is indeed. He's going to peel into the pit lane. Well, it hasn't been going very well for McLaren, and it still isn't going very well here in Germany. Right. Meanwhile, elsewhere, TJ Danny has gotten past Ricardo up into 4th place for the Renault, and Maniacs starting this whole group for 10th place. They're still fighting tooth and nail, heading through the hairpin. Fairmoto looks like he was pushed out wide there by the Toro Rosso of Maniac, but now Sir Sharks has been invited to the party. Look at either one of the Williams or the Toro Rosso in front of him. They're both starting to lose touch with the rest of the pack. 4.2 seconds separates the lead Williams from the Haas. As you just see the slick tires, are the track, Kendo, looks like it's getting drier and drier every single lap.
It most certainly is, and it just goes to show that HK has made the right choice and gamble at the start, as well as a few other drivers decided to start off on the slicks, and they're the ones that have benefited from the series of pit stops that everyone had to make that extra pit to get themselves off the inters and, as we say, onto the slicks. So again, that's allowed HK to pull away from his own teammate. He's currently over 7 seconds ahead of DXT Lee.
We see there Fairmoto getting down the inside of the Toro Rosso, who's actually lost another position. James F1, after getting clear of his teammate, has gotten up into 11th place. If you're Racing Point, the race is probably going to come to you near the end. They still have plenty of ground to make up, and if anything, because they started on the intermediate tires, we could see them go on to another set of mediums. But however, the Red Bulls of HK and Lee don't have that option. They started on the mediums. They have to go to a different compound. Two teammates here. Fairmoto trying to help out his teammate, who now gets passed by James F1, who works his way up into the points. Racing Point has yet to score, or has not failed to score points in any race so far this season. Trying to keep that streak intact, is now into 9th place, courtesy of the drag reduction system. You can see his teammate now in the background as well, getting into 12th. Things are starting to settle down a little bit more as the laps tick by. We're about to complete lap 9 as our leader HK has cleared about 8.3 seconds and sets the fastest lap, 1:15.5 from the Red Bull. He is steaming around this Hockenheim circuit. Really, Kendo, it seems like that battle at the back is the only thing really going on at the moment. Sir Sharks is going to try to have a go at the now ghost car of the Williams and get past him pretty easily, and is now going to look for the other Williams. Fairmoto now in front of him, who's starting to get all over the back of his teammates. So we could see a few team games here from Racing Point as DJ Danny gets into 3rd place, getting past the Toro Rosso, but they're still wheel to wheel. DJ Danny has the inside line heading through turn 7 into turn 8. Mercedes grandstand as Danny tries to get that move done. They may have touched a little bit there. DJ Danny in the Renault on the medium tires, setting a fastest middle sector. getting past the Toro Rosso of Liverpool Ewan, who's certainly going to be hanging around for potentially another 2 or 3 laps as those soft tires actually, you can see now, beginning to fall off. He's already lost about 0.5 of a second to the Renault, and it'll be interesting to see how fast can DJ Danny close this gap to the 2 Red Bulls at the front. Leclerc now into 15th, now into 14th as he gets past the ghost car of the Williams. Mercedes still having a horrendous time in this race, seeing themselves down to 18th and 19th after a decent beginning to their qualifying, but they have pretty much been at the back of the field for most of this race. Miles now into 6th place, or getting past 6th place rather, into 5th place, and a few more cars coming into the pit lane for Williams. He's actually going to go on to another set of softs. Mecca from McLaren and Mats as well, both heading on to fresh, soft tires. DJ Danny closing that gap to Lee extremely quickly. Kendo, how much games do you think Lee can play here in the Red Bull to try to help out his teammate, keep extending that lead over the Renault?
Oh yeah, exactly, because I have no doubt, considering with them being in the HK squad, they will definitely be communicating with each other. And as we talk about the Red Bulls are currently on 31.5 points, so I'm definitely sure that they want to try and get as many points as they can in the Constructors. So mind games will be being played, that's for sure.
DJ Danny has gone around the outside, and even before the hairpin has the move done, DJ Danny 9.3 seconds adrift from the lead of this race, but is up into 2nd place. Also as well, we saw another pit stop. It was the Haas of Liam Hardman onto the soft tire. So into a few drivers heading onto the soft tire. We didn't think we'd see much of it, and we're seeing a whole host of them here.
Yeah, it all depends on strategies, because again, depends on how they want to play out the race. It can do with soft, so that might be the strategy we want to look at. However, that's going to be very, very tricky at the end of the race. Then, in my opinion, they need to at least do a medium run to soft, and even that's going to be a push on this track, especially with the likes of that turn 1 putting a lot of pressure on them tyres. And at the end of the race, even a one stop, if PHK wants to try it, is going to be a challenge.
The Toro Rosso of Liverpool Ewan peeling into the pits off of those 9-lap bold soft tires, heading onto the medium tires now as the sun begins to shine here in Hockenheim. We've completed 12 laps. We're on lap 13 as well. We've only had 1 virtual safety car so far. Everything kept pretty clean, but now is the Toro Rosso going to have a look at Ferramoto. He goes down the inside. A great bit of a lunge, but is now Ferramoto going to have the switchback on the Toro Rosso? It doesn't look like it. Liverpool Ewan getting back into 8th place, and Sir Shark's possibly going to have a little bit of a look at the Toro Rosso as well, who's done 8 laps on his soft tires, and we saw Liverpool Ewan just a few moments ago peel into the pits after 9 laps on his. So could the pit window begin to open for the Williams here, as he's starting to lose more and more time to the racing point behind him? We could see, courtesy of DRS, down the first of the main straights. You could see them down into turn 1, not on this occasion. We see Sir Sharks make his way up into 9th place. His teammate has gone all the way up to 7th, regaining that position. You can see Ferramoto trying to do his best defensive maneuvers. He tries to take the inside line, but it doesn't really matter because Sir Sharks has turned everything up and has gotten past Williams, who actually loses 2 places, as Murphy, who started from the back of the grid after missing qualifying, now sees himself up into the points for Alfa Romeo. This has been a scrap we've been seeing all evening here. It hasn't really been much of a competition at the front. HK 9.4 seconds still over the Renault. Scartrix on those hard tires is maintaining that 6th position. Kendo, I'm wondering, as we see Ricardo peel into the pit lane now, could that be the trigger for HK Lee and some of those that started on slicks to head onto the hard tires as Ricardo does just now?
Yeah. For me, that is definitely the way to go, especially if you want to do the 1-stop. However, if you do want to do a 2-stop on this, it is got to be soft at the end. But for me personally, I would definitely say for HK, try and keep as tight as you can to track position. If it was him, I would look to try and go on them hard compound tyres. And for DJ Danny, does he try and mix things up? Does he want to try and do alternate strategy to HK, considering he's 9 seconds ahead? He has to try and do something different. But the question is, can he do it with the pace? Can he do it with his setup? We'll soon find out.
We're watching here the battle for 8th place. Sir Sharks and Murphy in the Alfa Romeo going wheel to wheel as they head into the quick right-hander heading into turn 13. Sir Sharks maintaining that 8th position for the time being. And there it is, Lee into the pit lane. So Red Bull pitting their 2nd driver first ahead of HK, possibly looking to get the undercut on a few of those who 12 laps on the mediums, but it could be interesting to see where Scartrix ends up. He's done, his HRC is actually retired from this section. I wonder if he went off, but he looks like he's just left the session, and he becomes the first retirement here in Germany. Ricardo, who pitted under the green flag, down into 13th place, but he's on fresh, hard tires, which will certainly get him to the end. Is he going to have a little look down the inside of Liam Hardman this time around? Battle between Sharks and Murphy is still raging on here on lap 17. As we pass the halfway point of this race, HK is still maintaining that 9.6 second lead over DJ Denny, who's just absolutely bossing this race. Red Bull at the front, and it'll be interesting to see for Red Bull as a team where DXT Lee can find himself at the end of this race. He has to clear a few drivers that have yet to pit off of their first stop as Fairmoto now after 11 laps on the soft tires. Peels into the pit lane. Liam Hartman picking up a 3-second penalty as he actually tries to go wheel to wheel with Maniac down before the big main straight, and that will invite Ricardo in that Ferrari, put him under pressure. Now you can see them trying to jockey for track position. They go wheel to wheel. Does the Haas and Toro Rosso, who will break later? Yes, actually getting the switch back in the Ferrari might as well as in the span of 1 corner. Maniac has lost 2 positions, and it does have to be said, actually, is he going to have another little bit of a go? Toro Rosso backing out of that move, probably smart for that one. It didn't look like he was going to really have much of a chance in that one. Maniac, 13 laps on the hard tires. Him going to the end can do. I don't know what those tires are going to feel like once we hit lap 34, but I'm picturing it can't be all that great.
Yeah, for sure, with 13 laps, I will fully expect Maniac to have to try and pit again if he wants to try and get the most out of his tyre strategy. The tyres can last all the way to the end, however, they will be extremely, extremely slow. And being in P12, that's not going to benefit him a lot at all, considering you've got the likes of Murphy and everything that are currently on the medium compound, and I fully expect them to be pitting in the next couple of laps or so.
And Ricardo on the hards, trying to go around the outside of Liam. Hardman picks up a 3-second time penalty in addition, but now actually pushing, just showing that pass onto the grass. Ricardo up into the points, as now HK peels into the pit lane onto the hard tires for the Red Bull. He's actually going to lose 2 places, but will certainly be on the more competitive tire here as we head into the latter stages of the race. James F1 also into the pit lane as well. But the interesting thing is, Kendo, is if Rimac pits now, he's going to come out behind Leclerc. It's about 18 seconds for a stop around here. He's going to come out well down the field.
Yeah, well, you've got to bear in mind, Leclerc is on them soft compound tyres. They will not last to the end of a race. He will need to pit again. As we see, Leclerc's just having to pit now in the Williams. However, actually, Leclerc's 16, who was in the Ferrari, he will get jumped if Rimac is not careful, considering he is on them harder compound tyres. They can be at this point in time.
And Maniac as well, if he pits now, he also comes out behind the Ferrari as well, who has already made his final stop. James F1 has made his final stop, and Fairmoto as well. So if you're Toro Rosso, do you just leave him out there? Because you might lose more positions than you're going to gain back at the end of this race.
Yeah, that is very... That's definitely got to be a conversation that the two drivers need to have. It is a risk. Sometimes, as you see, you've got to take risk for high reward. However, we can only find out if they decide to take that gamble. If it does pay off, it's definitely going to be one to...
Oh! And Jamie 29 has crashed out, and that has brought out the safety car. And that is not what HK wanted to see. He closed down that gap to Miles to about a second. This will essentially grant DJ Danny and Miles a free pit stop. And like we mentioned before, they can go onto another set of medium tires. They've already used the intermediates, which they started on. It gives them free tire choice here. They do peel into the pits. HK into the pits as well. So we could see all of the drivers head on to medium tires here. They'll do 13 or 12 laps comfortably, as we've seen 17 laps from Miles there. HK onto the mediums. If this helps anybody, it's helping DJ Danny.
Yeah, and it just goes to show the difference in the strategies having to make that tough call. HK has decided he needs to get on the medium tyres to have any chance of keeping up with DJ Danny. And he's had to respond to his nearest rival. And as you rightly say, the safety car has completely changed this race.
It's the first safety car of the afternoon, bar the virtual safety car we had on lap 2. Basically, everybody has gone into the pits except Lee, who stayed out on the hard tires. James F1 has stayed out. He pitted the lap earlier, so this actually benefits him as well. Brings him right back in contention for a podium should his pace match where he is in the Drivers' Championship. Sir Sharks will also be licking his lips, trying to get back into this one as well. He pitted under this safety car. Fairmoto, who recently peeled into the pit lane, actually staying out as well, so it'll be about 20 laps on the mediums for Fairmoto, but I'm interested on the call for Lee. he still has an option to peel into the pit lane, but if he pits now, he's going to fall all the way down to about 15th. I don't think he's going to. No, he's going to stay out. I'm interested on the strategy there, Kendo. I don't quite understand that. Peeling into the pits, he's staying out on the hards, which you've already ran for a few laps, and everybody else behind you is pitted for mostly fresh mediums.
That comes all down to being in the pit with your teammates. At the moment, Lee must have felt he wouldn't be able to get out in time. And like I say, I do feel that this is going to be a little bit of a mistake from Lee. He should have pitted a lap earlier. But the fact that he has chose to stay out, and now all the field is bunched up again, he had no choice. He has to stay out on them hard tyres now. If he did it a lap earlier, it would have been the right call. But because he chose to stay out that extra lap on them hard tyres, he forced him. He's forced his hand basically.
It's still a 3-4 for Red Bull, which is a great haul of points. They will be taking home the team battle here today with the highest finishing position of both their drivers. But we talked about it as the safety car came out. It is certainly completely spun this race on its head. It looked like everything was going HK's way until JB29 crashing out is put the Red Bulls in a difficult position. The safety car is making a late call to come in this lap, which now makes the Renault of DJ Danny the pace car. Now, when will he go? Safety car is into the pits. DJ Danny pinning it to the throttle as we come around the complete lap 22 and head on to lap 23 here. About 11 laps to go. Who will get jumped on this safety car restart? As you can see already, the hard tires not paying off for the Red Bull Scartrix rather is all over the back of Lee, who shows him to the outside. Medium tires, much fresher. You can just see they're still wheel to wheel actually. Lee hold that inside line, be able to not surrender one, maybe two places as he tries to close off the Haas, but they're still wheel to wheel. Lee and Scartrix as they head into the grandstand. See if Lee is a little bit naughty there from the Red Bull, pushing the Haas out wide. He probably had a lot more room to work with. PXD Lee still in fourth place, and that has actually put Scartrix under immense pressure now from the racing point of James F1, who has Liverpool Ewan behind him, and then his teammate follows him up, so it could still be a good day yet for the racing point. At least one Mercedes engine would see the start-finish line in a points position. DJ Danny setting the fastest lap of 1:14.2, which is about 2 seconds faster, I believe, than the last fastest lap. As you see Scartrix again having a look at, he was actually getting overtaken by James F1 as he gets shown the outside there, might lose yet another position. Liverpool Ewan up into 6th place on this safety car restart. DJ Danny has pulled about 0.6 of a second, but he hasn't been able to find a way to clear everyone yet. You can see there the gap forming from the front three to the rest of the field, and so Sharks gets past Scartrix, Fairmoto getting past Murphy. You can see there 2.8 seconds the gap from Lee to his teammate in front of him. And still all to play for at the front. Only about a second separates the front three, but most of the action is actually taking place for fourth position. As another yellow flag, Toro Rosso has actually gone off of Maniac, who's now going to be relegated to the back of the field. He doesn't have, it looks like, any damage, but he certainly had an incident. He found himself in the gravel and was looking for a great day for Toro Rosso as a team. Has turned into maybe just somewhat of a good day.
Yeah, at the moment it's certainly advantage the Red Bulls in P3 and P4. As you were saying, Maniac was in a solid position. With this
James F1 going down the outside. Will he have that done by the hairpin? He does indeed, courtesy of the drag reduction system. I didn't mean to cut you off there, Kendo, but and the Racing Point getting the move. Now Lee has fallen all the way down into 6th place.
It most certainly is, and you can just see the fact that with that safety car being deployed, a lot of drivers are now trying to battle themselves out, jockeying for position, and as we are starting to see, Big Lee is starting to get attacked, especially with him now being on them hard tyres, and the rest of the field just behind on them fresher medium compounds.
Sir Sharks is the next car to try to line him up. HK setting the fastest lap, a 1:14.0 from him. So this is all business at the moment for HK, trying to get on the podium once more. Felt he was robbed of a victory at Spa. If he doesn't come out on top here, you could feel he was robbed of another one here in Germany thanks to a late safety car. Sir Sharks is going to look to go wheel to wheel now with Lee, who's already feeling the effects of those tires. He gets passed twice yet again on the main straight. Scartrix now past him as well, and all Lee seems to be doing is holding up the inevitable by staying out on those hard tires. I think we could see him peel into the pit lane here and put on a pair of softs and just try and maybe get himself a fastest lap. But at the front, DJ Danny, DXT Miles, and HK all racing each other quite closely, but HK is definitely much closer to Miles than Miles is to Danny. Did we see DRS come into effect for these three at the front? Meanwhile, the Racing Points have found themselves all the way from well outside of the points to 4th and 5th, and they're going to try and start making up ground on this front three, but with 5 seconds splitting 3rd and 4th, we're not too sure how that's going to go. With about 7 laps remaining here, Rimac making his way temporarily into the points as he seems to be having a battle with Murphy in that Alfa Romeo. DRS open for both of them. Who will have the better slipstream as we head down into the hairpin? Rimac taking the outside line, Murphy taking the inside line. Who will break later? As it stands, Murphy holding that position. You can see there, Miles getting past DJ Danny. There's still, well, they have all come together here with about 6, 7 laps to go. We could be in for a thrill. Here's Miles running wide. HK up into 2nd position. We have a yellow flag, actually for Rimac now. Will that bring out potentially another safety car? It doesn't look like it. We race on here in Germany. HK now is going to really be hunting down DJ Danny, the man who he lost out to under that safety car, is going to come back at him now. Try this time. There's a little bit of a bump from Miles there, it seemed, as HK actually going wheel to wheel with Danny, and that might actually bring him under attack from Miles. They all slip in behind DJ Danny, who leads this race, but not leading any longer. HK taking that outside line. Danny doing well to keep the inside, but that's actually going to open it up for Miles now. Has to take a little bit of evasive action for the Red Bull coming back out onto the track. This battle at the front, Kendo, I hope goes on for the next 6 laps here, because we could have an absolute thriller of a finish here. These three fight at the front before. We're seeing it here yet again. DJ Danny trying to capture his 3rd victory out of 4 this season. HK trying to fix that, trying to capture his 1st victory of the season. DRS down the pit straight. Started to fan out a little bit more. Meanwhile, lost Rimac from this race, who's gone into the pit lane and retired. Everybody really getting compact in the middle of the field. Scartrix, Sir Sharks really having a go at Liverpool Hewitt. We'll take our eyes off that battle at the front for just half a second. You see Scartrix now within DRS. He's gaining. He's going around the outside. Will he have that one done? He's been shown the outside and shown the curb. Will Scartrix be able to maintain his position in 6th, because Sir Sharks is now going to try to have another look at him. Kendo, this is really getting very elbows out from almost everyone on the track. Sir Sharks in the 6th position.
Yeah, you can definitely tell the people back are trying to battle hard. You've got the Adjus on board with that one, Sir Sharks and Scartrix. You can clearly see they want the points as much as they can, considering Sir Sharks in that race and point along with James F1 are battling for that constructors, and that's going to be the key for them. Can they keep their 2nd position and trying on to get as close as they can to the Renault?
Ferramoto thought about a little bit of a look at the Red Bull in front of him, who's was in 2nd place at one point in this race, and now finds himself in 8th. He did pit under the safety car that came out due to Jamie 29's crash, but he stayed out, and it hasn't quite worked out for Red Bull. See, again, he's starting to lose the back end a little. You see, the battle is still raging on at the front. DJ Danny only about 0.2 of a second ahead of his rival HK in the Red Bull.
Yeah.
They peel.
I was just about to say, while you were watching both the people, that battle has been very intense. I've been watching it very closely, going up that long back straight. HK tried to have a go, and he actually got ahead briefly. However, DJ Danny is keeping his head very cool, and that is the difference between somebody being a championship winner and those that try and push too hard and making mistakes.
Well, you can see HK now cranking that car all the way up to overtake with DRS as well. Will he have the outside line? He does indeed, and actually has plenty of time to get the move done. But DJ Danny with a late lunge down the inside. They lock wheels, and that's going to invite DXT Miles into this battle now, as Danny, because he broke so late into the hairpin, could actually, as they go 3 wide nearly into the grandstand, and Miles is actually going to come out on top of that. Now it is elbows out from all 3. It is getting a little bit of a late move there, as Ferramoto has now lost it somewhere. He has retired. He becomes our 4th retirement of the afternoon. Everything's starting to get very, very chippy at the front between these 3. Some late moves, some late lunges from everyone. Hopefully it doesn't quite result in someone spinning off like we had at Spa. Hopefully we can race this one tooth and nail all the way to the end. We have 2 laps remaining here in Germany. DJ Danny all over that Red Bull gearbox. Is actually Miles is starting to get a little bit of a gap. I say a little bit, it's only about 0.4. It's now 0.3, 0.2, 0.1. Now will someone have a look down the inside? They go wheel to wheel again, HK and Danny. HK just getting his muscles out and showing the Renault to the outside, but they are still tooth and nail. Sir Sharks moving into 5th place. Ricardo falling down the field. You wonder if he actually ran wide at the hairpin. It looks like he has, down into 11th. So what was going to be a points finish for Ferrari has ended with them just outside the points, as they have about 1.2 seconds to make up, as we have a few more yellow flags. Is that Liam Hardman off in the gravel at the Mercedes grandstand? It looks like it is, but they're still battling out at the front. It is continuous, Kendo, continuous battling, but Miles seems to be pulling away ever so slightly.
Yeah, I was just about to I comment on that. I think at the moment HK is... Oh, and I think Miles has just made a mistake as he goes into the lead. HK takes the lead of this race as DJ Danny goes past Miles as well. I did not see that one coming. I was fully expecting HK to try and sit behind us.
They're all going to have a little go at each other. It was HK going to try to switch back to Renault, who outbroke himself.
Miles is going in.
It's great racing from everyone at the front.
This is
one I really hope that penalties don't come into play here, because it is absolutely fantastic to watch as they bang wheels at the back. DJ Danny and DST Miles both getting a little bit loose out of the grandstand section. Really both losing the car into each other. But that has actually allowed HK to take a 1 second lead heading into the final lap as he rounds the penultimate corner. DJ Danny's actually closed that gap again. It'll be interesting to see whether he has DRS or not. He doesn't. So that could prove costly, that mistake. And now DJ Danny is actually off, and he's in the wall, and he's crashed. DJ Danny on the final lap out of turn 1 has ended his race into the wall. Heartbreak for Renault. It's a double DNF for Renault. HK with a 1.3 second lead has basically clear air to work with. Could, well, looks like he's going to, they're still scrapping behind him. James F1, Liverpool Ewan, Sir Sharks, Scartrix as well, was in that battle for a little bit, as both Ferraris make their way into the points. Sir Sharks down the inside of Liverpool Ewan. And Racing Point hanging on. DXT Lee, who would have told you he was robbed at Spa, was nearly robbed here again today, but DJ Danny crashing out on the final lap has allowed HK to come across the line and win here in Germany, ahead of DXT Miles, who actually falls to third. James F1 finishing second. Liverpool Ewan actually whipping Sir Sharks across the line. He actually is going to lose another position. DXT Lee jumping into 5th place, something we really didn't expect once we saw him off of that safety car. What a way to end the race, Kevin.
Wow, just wow. Intense battling throughout the race, and as in the blink of an eye, that has completely flipped the constructors on its head. The Racing Points look like that they're going to pull out a little bit of a lead going into the next race. Congratulations to HK and the rest of your podium finishes. Well done. Really good racing, guys.
That puts HK right back in the Drivers' Championship and puts Red Bull as well right back in the Constructors' Championship as well. And Racing Point, second and 6th for them today. 6-second penalty for Sir Shark saw him relegated to 6th. HK wins here in Germany. We'll have podium interviews here in a second. Kent, if you could usher those guys into the party. I don't believe HK is going to be able to join us. He doesn't actually have a mic for his Xbox for whatever reason. He's just a bit like that. But Miles and James F1 make up the rest of the podium. What a way to end that. Great result for Toro Rosso as well. 4th place for Liverpool Ewan. We saw Maniac actually going off with a few laps to go there. He's down in 12th. He didn't pick up any points, but a double points finish for Ferrari. First time we could say that this season. Starting to put themselves back into that midfield conversation. Kendo, I don't know if we have those guys in here yet. James and Miles, if you're here, say hi.
Yeah, currently at the moment, James F1 has just joined the call. The invites have been sent, so just remember to include your audio, guys.
Yeah, I made that mistake last time.
Yeah, you basically gave us a whole verbal novel, and nobody heard a
It's a
single
decent speech at the time. To be fair.
It was a great speech. It was a great speech. Right, down in 12th, all the way back to finish on the podium.
Yeah, that was pretty nutty. I think I don't know where I actually fell to at the end of lap 1. It wasn't Miles's fault or anything. At the end of the day, I just completely misread the situation, facing the wrong way, and yeah, that was a boring race that turned into a fun one, unless you were at the front. But yeah, bloody hell.
When DJ Danny peeling off into the wall, thoughts going through the head there?
Surprise, first off, because obviously Danny doesn't normally make errors, especially not errors like that. I just had a feeling that with the three of them so close together, I was kind of surprised that nothing didn't happen before, if I'm honest. Obviously, I didn't get to see the actual racing between the three. You two did. I'm sure it was quite borderline at some points, but yeah, I had a feeling one of them wouldn't end up coming off too well, but not in that way. I thought it was going to be contact, but if Danny dumped it himself, then yeah, some very unfortunate.
Do we have Miles in here by?
You certainly do.
Miles, what a way to end that race. What did it look like from your perspective? I don't know if you were behind Danny to see him peel into the wall, but plenty of wheel banging at the front there at the end as well.
Yeah, it was unfortunate for Danny that I think he clipped the curve when he was turning in, and it sent the rear spinning, which was very unfortunate. It was very good racing. A couple moves where we got forced off the track, but overall I really liked it. Very intense. But
And is that kind of racing, that wheel to wheel, bang wheels 2 or 3 times, especially down that hairpin where you guys almost got 3 wide at one point? Is that something you enjoy, or would you rather see it a little bit cleaner than that?
no, I'll say I enjoy it. It's just, if it's kept clean, then I enjoy it, because the more racing, the better for the viewers, and I just like it in general, because it makes for some interesting moves and interesting battles around the field.
All right. And James, when you mentioned you saw them battling at the front, was it just? Did you think it was a matter of time before one of them went off or made a mistake?
Yeah, I wouldn't even say made a mistake, because normally they're pretty solid guys. But I just had a feeling there'd be contact. Hairpin is notorious for all sorts of shenanigans, and I'm surprised I don't know if there wasn't. I'm surprised there wasn't 3 abreast moves. But yeah, the odds are something was going to happen. But yeah, it's unfortunate, because especially if it was a good race for you guys, then obviously all 3 of them deserve to be on the podium, not me.
Well, Miles, you had the lead at one point. Did you expect to lead this race at any point, or was it somewhat of a surprise to actually be in that position so far late in the race? And how much did the safety car really spin the race on its head?
Yeah, because at one point HK had a 16-second lead or something at the front, because he started on the medium tyres, which was a surprise. But then the safety car kind of saved the race and brought everyone together, because HK had a pit stop ahead of everyone. But yeah, I was surprised. I kind of messed up, because I looked up and I almost spun the car, which brought me back to 3rd. But yeah, it was nice while it lasted. I wasn't expecting to be first at any point in the race. I just wanted to see what would happen at the front too.
And how do you boys fancy Brazil?
I'm not very good at that track, but we'll see. We'll see. Should put some practice.
Hopefully it's not wet. That's all I've got to say.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's a nice, clean, dry race.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, join us this time next week for round 5 from Brazil. We will see everyone